Welcome to another episode of Touchline Hotspur. We've got a really good show today and a few special guests as well. You know what? Let me introduce the special guests first. So we've got Hogan with us today. How you doing, Hogan? How you feeling?
I'm good, man. Nice to be here. Looking forward to the show. I'm glad it's tonight and not missing the Man United game yesterday. So,
can you tell us a little bit about yourself for people who may not have heard about you?
Yeah, so I used to play. Started off at West Ham, moved to Queen's Park Rangers, did 6.5 years there, which was a great time. Went on loan to a few different clubs as well: Leeds, Colchester, Toronto, Bristol City, quite a few different clubs. Then finished up at Wycombe as well. So yeah, got quite a bit of experience in the game and see what you guys are saying tonight.
Good to have you. And our second special guest as well, Marcus. How you doing? You with us?
I'm good, thanks, bro. Yeah, really good.
Good. And can you tell us a little bit about your
background? You can't hear me?
No, we hear you.
Thing is, I can hear you lot, man.
We hear you, bro. Just your image froze.
Yeah, so professional football. Oh, okay, no worries, cool. A professional footballer retired a couple of years ago. Actually played with Hogan at Wycombe. That was my last club as well. Played for QPR, Brentford, Swansea, Blackpool. So I've been around, as they say. And yeah, just looking forward to talking football today with you guys, man.
Looking forward to it. And then we've also got two regulars here as well. Tops, how you doing today, man?
Yeah, good, bro. I'm having to sport the hospital scrubs as I do this podcast from the on-call room. But I'm doing all right, man. I thought I'd definitely get myself involved for tonight, especially with these two guests and the upcoming FA Cup game. So yeah, man, I'm good.
No, I respect it, man. Up front line. And Ohio, how you doing there, man?
I'm good, bro. I've been on for a minute. Yeah, tough. I've got exams coming up my ass, left, right, and centre. I got another one tomorrow morning, actually. But yeah, now buzzing to be on tonight. Obviously, I haven't seen Marcus and Hogan for like 6 years. So yeah, man, excited to get it popping.
Nice. Everyone, make sure you tell your friends to get involved. Tell them to lock in now. Tweet out the live links to your friends as well. This episode is brought to you by Fanslide. It's the world's first live in-play fantasy football game. Lets you play against your mates. Ohio, I know you've been getting into Fanslide recently. Tell us a bit about your experience, man.
Bro, with Fanslide, yeah, it's slightly different to FPL because it's live, innit? You sort of do feel a little bit like a manager, like you're trying to what am I looking for? Have a bit of foresight into the game. And sometimes it comes off. You start to check the game and like, okay, like this person's picking up a couple points for some tackles, some interceptions, etc. So I think the last time I tried to play it, I said, let me just get the goalkeepers and the defenders involved first early doors. And then it kind of works, but it sort of tailed off. And then, so yeah, like I said, I did it United, Liverpool. And obviously with it being 0-0, it was a bit of a sad state of affairs. I was like, okay, Bruno's going to do something. Bruno, as he likes his stats in it. I was like, Bruno's going to get me a stat in the next 20 minutes. Didn't happen. I thought Pogba was going to get me something. Like, to be fair, I can't really blame any of them. Like, the game was the game, innit? Do you know what I mean? It was a tough day, but it is always fun, like trying to second guess, especially when Discord is popping off as well. So yeah, no, I'll definitely be playing again very soon. Everyone should jump on.
I love the idea of it, man. It reminds me of like trying to pick when to bring in like your super sub. It feels like I'm playing manager. Like when's Bruno gonna score me my pen? What minute do I want it to come in? You know what I mean? So it's all about using your gut instinct, just thinking about how the game will unfold. It's free to play and there's a lot of prize money to win too. So make sure you look out for that. But moving on, let's start the show. So I think we should start. Let's start with the Sheffield United game. Let's start with a review of the game. Tops, what did you think going into the game?
Yeah, man. Going into the game, I kind of thought this was a game that we should definitely be picking up 3 points against a team that's in a bit of a bad run of form, bottom of the league. They did just get a result against Newcastle before, but I thought just with the quality that we had and the way we've kind of been playing, that we would go into this game positively to try and get 3 points. which we, did. So
I think the narrative going into the game was like we've been throwing away points. I think is it 10 points so far from winning positions.
Something ridiculous like that.
Something crazy like that. So I mean, definitely the goal going into this game was to try keep a clean sheet, try and I guess just try and steady the ship, man. We wanted to stop seeing this second half rot. What did you think about the lineup?
I think it's one of them ones. Everyone, I might have to switch it up because we've got some ex-pros and I don't know how well they know certain man, but for all intents and purposes, I call Ben Davies Brexit Ben just for his style of play, his passport. You know what I'm saying? But the fan base always, everyone's arsehole gets a little bit tighter when we see him on the bench. Oh, not starting, sorry, but I'm a little bit more confident when he's at LCB rather than LB. He did all right. So yeah, just for anyone who didn't see the game, we played 3-4-3. Davies, Dyer, Rodon, Reguilon, Højbjerg, and Ndomballer playing as deeper, which is what we've been asking for literally since the first episode. Aurier right wing back, and then Bergwijn and Son playing inside forwards of Kane. I think I like the lineup. I think it was good to. These are the kind of games we're going to get minutes for Rodon as well, because obviously he's not in Europa League squad, half because we missed the deadline, but also half because I think I read something somewhere that I don't know what it is with Europa, but they don't allow any Welsh teams to come under like a homegrown sort of quota. Obviously, man come from Swansea in it, so as many minutes as we can get from Rodon, the better. I think it was good for him to get involved. I liked seeing Bergwijn coming in the middle quite a lot into like the 10 area. Bergwijn that's probably one of his best. That's probably his best game in quite a long time. And all he needed was a goal. You know, I'm feeling for him a bit. He just needs. It's nice to see him being a bit more confident, but we just need him to get back on that score sheet. At the end of the day, it is going to be a game of numbers. But I don't even want to start talking about Ndomballer because I'll talk until tomorrow. But I'll stop there.
Ndomballer, man. You love to see it. Like Tops, in fact, let me let you take the mic, man.
Man. So on this podcast, Marcus and Hogan, I am a definite stan of Tongi Ndomballer, man. Been watching this guy for a minute still, back from his days in Lyon, and obviously last season was a bit of a disappointment. But this season, man, he's just come into his own, to be honest with you. Obviously, the conditioning is getting there, the performance are improving. And this was the first game that he's completed 90 minutes in the Premier League. I think I saw a stat that he covered the most distance than any other Spurs player. And it was an all-action performance, man. Interceptions, ball recovery, shots. He was tackling, winning duels, and obviously he got himself the third goal in the game, which was, in my opinion, an unbelievable finish from a very, very somewhat tight angle. I'm actually very happy for him. I feel like the support that he's kind of got from people who know that he's a decent player has always been there, and he's starting to give people like Mourinho and Tottenham fans reason to believe that he is the kind of player that we paid, the record signing for. But what's funny is that, like, when I think about that goal, like, certain men are asking how Ndomballer was able to score from where he did, but certain Germans can't even finish one-on-ones when they're through on goal. So I won't speak on that anymore. Because even Ndomballer this season as well, like, man's already got, like, I think 2 or 3 goals. I think certain man across the road haven't even touched 3 goals in the league yet. Like, and they're on the most amount of money. So we could ask those questions another day, but that's for another agenda.
We'll save that one for a little bit.
Save that one, man.
Let that one stew. But like Ndomballer's performance, it inspired a comment, I think, from Jose, where he said, "Good players play anywhere." And I don't know if that was like maybe an indirect at Dele Alli or something like that. But Marcus, like, as an ex-pro, like, what do you think of that kind of statement?
I think it's a typical Mourinho statement. You know, he's been throwing those out for years now. I don't know who that was aimed at. Only Mourinho will know. But yeah, just on Ndombele, he's an exceptional talent. I think he could do things with the ball that, you know, reminiscent a bit of Dembele when you used to have him. He's able to manipulate the ball, protect the ball, go past people at will. Obviously, it's not ideal that you're a player like him can't do 90 minutes. I think we're halfway through the season now. He's completely won 90 minutes. That's worrying. But moving forward, you get him on the pitch for 90 minutes and he keeps those level performances up. You've got a potential world-class player in your hands. But yeah, I still believe there's question marks over consistency. And if he can keep those consistent performances up, then yeah, he's got the world at his feet.
And Hogan, what do you think about those kind of comments and Ndombele as well? Like, do those comments inspire you when you hear a manager say something like that?
I think he's got a point to it in the way that football's going nowadays. Even if you look at front threes and whatnot, they're all flexible and can play in each position. Ndombele, in games, the game you played at home to full on draw, I would have liked to get to him as well. He's going to play at number 10 because he hasn't got that trust yet. I think last year there was a few things which was below the unacceptable standards. When you play that game against Burnley and you don't have one game, you're running at a lesser intensity than the goalkeeper. You receive the ball off the centre backs twice, but as a centre forward, gives you a lot of trust with your manager and teammates, and trust is the most important thing. So we would surely get back the talents undoubted. With football, with some of the players in the Premier League, unbelievable ability, but just got to get that trust. Another goal he lost at home last season when he didn't track the run. He's there jogging for 60 yards. That sort of stuff, managers don't forget that lightly. They need to know that they can put their house on you. And if he keeps performing like he has been recently, and he keeps churning out 90 minutes like he did the other day, then that will only help him. Because Mourinho, he did get stuck into him when he went there last year. Everyone's seen the Amazon documentary as well, where it looked like the writing would be on the wall for him. But fair play to him. He's come back into his own and hopefully he can be a mainstay in that team, because with his ability, he could definitely help the likes of Son and Harry Kane, and he'd be one of your more impressive players.
Yeah, just going on that one as a 6 as well. I completely agree with Hogan about trusting on the ball. He sometimes takes too many touches in those areas, on the edge of his box when you need to be moving the ball quickly. So I think I do get Mourinho's point on that one. He needs to be more reliable in those sort of areas. Higher up the pitch, do your thing, but if you remember Dembele, yes, he could get out of those areas, but he also knew he wanted to play 1 and 2 touch as well. So, but no, he's a great player. I'm not going to knock him.
Nice. I'm just glad to have a midfield again, man. Like between Ndombele, Højbjerg, even Sissoko to some extent. I'm loving having a midfield at Spurs. That's no like slight to the players who were there before, I guess, or Winks or anything. Like, it's good to see them come in and out of the team, but it's just always good to see the starting 11 improving, man. And I guess for me, like I think Mourinho was being a bit cheeky with the good players play anywhere thing. But as a fan, like you always want to see players play like in their most effective positions, and I think the guys have been saying it for a while. Like you'd love to see Ndombele playing in centre mid when possible. Hopefully, like somebody else gets more chances to give this sort of number 10 performance similar to what Berwin did today. Which again brings us back to the elephant in the room, which is Dele Alli not even making the bench for this game. Like, it's really disappointing. I mean, this is a bit of a left, but I was watching the highlights of the last time Spurs played Wycombe earlier today, and Dele Alli's goal was just like, that's the kind of thing I want to see from Dele Alli, and it's like it feels like that's the kind of thing we're missing at the moment. So I mean, Ohio, what does Dele have to do, man? You're on mute, mate.
Yeah, good point. I think I'm one of them people. Sometimes when you hear me talk about Ali, I sound a bit like anti-Dele, and I'm not. Like, so I want ball. I like ballers balling. Do you know what I'm saying? Like we've seen him do like unbelievable things. Do you know what I'm saying? But I think you know, a number of us have been saying for a while, like, you know, kind of leaning towards Jose's comment about good players play anywhere. There's like a sprinkle of truth to that, in the sense of like, we can't keep, and he can't just play 9.5 all the time. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, he can't be afforded that luxury, especially in a Jose team that, you know, sometimes you do have to be a bit more rigid and work a bit harder and release the ball a bit quicker. And these are things that, you know, Dele's not necessarily been known for or be shown much improvement towards. And especially like, you know, he was an unknown quantity at the beginning. And is it a mix of, I don't want to say complacency, because at the end of the day, footballers at that level, they will always want it, you know, no matter what anyone thinks. You know, no one walks onto the pitch and thinks, I'm going to half-ass it today and give it a 5. No one gives it a 5 out of 10 because they feel like it. Do you know what I'm saying? But I think Dele has to be. It would have been nice to see him in, even though Bergwijn had a great game against Sheffield, I can see Dele doing something similar to the way Bergwijn was playing, because even though if you look on the team sheet, Bergwijn was technically inside forward on the right, where did his assist come from for Ndomballer? Straight down the middle. It was like a 1-2 down the middle. And, you know, the scoop pass was delicious to watch, but Dele's definitely got that in his locker as well. And, you know, alluding to the finish against Wycombe that came from some high pressure and stuff, like, Dele he's the kind of third goal option that we need. Obviously, we've been saying we want more goals from Bergwijn, and hope, fingers crossed, he gets one against Liverpool, because we'll get into the Liverpool preview soon if he doesn't play against Wycombe. But, you know, Dele he's still a shooter. Like, even if he's not necessarily on form, like, the guy can still get goals. It's just, you can understand where people's patience is wearing a bit thin. But then on the flip side, you know, we don't know. I genuinely think he probably is busting the gut in training. I don't think he's not trying. I think that's a bit egregious to say. But I think Jose is kind of violating by putting Jedson on the bench when there's 9 man instead of Dele. And I'm sure Jedson's a nice guy, probably works his socks off, can also speak Portuguese. I don't know if that's a factor, or maybe Jose doesn't like Nigerians or half Nigerians. I don't know. But yeah, it's not looking great for him. And obviously Poch is sniffing in Paris as well. Like, ideal situation, I would much rather, you know, Dele just got given that chance and then just bang 2 goals and just released the ball a bit quicker and kept himself in the team. But annoyingly, in Jose's words, it's on him. Do you know what I mean? You're on mute now.
Good point. But yeah, it would be nice to see Dele. It would be nice to see Dele get another chance in this team, man. I still think he's got a role to play for us this year. So hopefully Poch doesn't get too close. But before we move on to Wycombe, I mean, we have to touch on this. I don't even know what to call it. Is it like a second half hoodoo? Harry Kane has come out saying that Jose says, or he doesn't say we should sit back at half time. But again, we've conceded after half time, after a period of it seeming like we've sat off. So I mean, Tops, what's your take on that? What do you think it is?
I feel like in that moment, Harry Kane's probably never going to. He's probably never going to say anything sort of negative or detrimental that would harm the manager. It's a bit of a difficult one to explain, really, because on one hand, Jose is saying to us that I'm never telling these guys to hold back in the second halves. I'm never telling them to do X, Y, Z. That a lot of it is just, I think he alluded to last week against Fulham, that it was maybe some individual errors and maybe he couldn't trust some people in certain moments. But I think it's probably a mixture. I mean, sometimes I think the system that we play sometimes doesn't help us. Sometimes it's the substitutions where we could maybe have a more progressive player maybe on the pitch. And obviously, like in previous weeks, he's taken off players like Ndomballer and brought on players who haven't really affected the game as much as he possibly could, or at least into control the game. So that maybe made a difference. I've also alluded to that, you know, I know we're 18, 19 games into the season, but maybe fitness as well. There's a reason that after a certain period of time in the games, we do tend to fade away. But I think I do believe what Harry Kane is saying, in that the manager doesn't tell them to sit back. It could be a mentality thing, something that we've always talked about, that we should hold on and drop a bit. But to be honest with you, it is really about just the players taking responsibility. I do feel like in these games, you probably have a mindset where you've scored a goal and you're thinking, okay, if I don't need to do too much to hold on, then I can just continue. But what I did like about the Sheffield United game was that we were 2-0 up. They did score. And for the first time in quite a while, watching us under Jose, we actually looked like a bit more dangerous after that point. And we actually looked like we could have gone and scored a couple more. And obviously Ndomballer did. So that kind of gave me some positive that actually maybe Harry Kane is telling the truth. Maybe Jose is saying, what he has been saying, that he isn't telling them to drop back or to hold off when we go 1 or 2-0 up,
So, Marcus, is that something you'd have to do, like cover for the manager, or do you typically come out?
I don't think many footballers do come out and tell the truth exactly how they feel. But on that one, I think it's a mentality thing. But I do think the mentality comes from the manager. So when I say this, I can't remember watching a Pep Guardiola side or a Jurgen Klopp side, for example, score a goal and then the players drop off. I think it comes from the manager and what he day in, day out, and it's not maybe just not on match day, but all throughout training, what his philosophy and what he wants to do. Step on the front foot, attack. And I'm a great believer in the best form of defense is attack. I think once you sit back, you invite pressure, and you inevitably you're going to concede chances which lead to goals. So I think it's more an unsaid thing. Maybe he doesn't say, "Listen, don't sit back," but you sense that that's what generally his philosophy is. Let's be tight first. Does that make sense? When there's another manager will say, "No, front foot, attack first." That's kind of what I think, anyway. My personal opinion.
Big up the people in the chat. Got some funny comments there. Tobes has a good point. He says Jose says it's just one time, but his tactics and subs say otherwise. And big up Sai as well, saying Harry Kane's just using his media training to good effect. But let's move on from the Sheffield United game, and let's talk about Wycombe. You know what? Before we get into the preview, tell us a little bit about your time at Wycombe, Hogan.
I joined there, I think it was the 14-15 season. I'd left QPR in the summer, went about 3 months without a club, and was thinking about calling it a day then, to be honest. But Wycombe gave me the call, so I joined there. I think it was around October time in that season, I'm tempted to say. And then, stayed there through until the end of the season. We reached the playoff final, which unfortunately we lost on penalties, but we gave it a good run. At the start of that season, not much was expected of us at all. Staying in the league would have been an achievement, I think, in most people's eyes, but we did well. We was up there battling for the automatic promotion places at one stage. Unfortunately, just fell off, and then in the playoff final, obviously that's where we crumbled at the end. But it was a good experience. I enjoyed it.
How about for you, Mark? Yeah,
no, it was a great time. I think playing under the manager's big on team spirit and togetherness, and that's one thing we had in abundance. It was probably the best dressing room I've been in terms of no backstabbing, no sniping, no different factions, but you have at a lot of clubs. Hogan will tell you there's this group, that group. No, it was everybody was in it together, and we had some really good times there. Definitely.
Nice. And what do you think of the club? How it's the direction it's moving at the moment?
I think it's incredible. For a manager to take a team to nearly getting coming out of the Football League, then they stayed up on the last day about 5 or 6 years ago. I'm not too sure how long ago it was exactly, to bring them to the Championship with the sides of the squad, the finances available, and the fan base is incredible. And I've been to watch them quite a lot this year, or I've watched them on TV. One of the both, a bit of combination of the two, and they're competing. I know they're bottom of the league, but every game's been close, and they're fighting for the points in every game. So hats off to the management and the players.
Yeah, I just want to back up what Marcus and Hoagie were saying. So just for those on the pod, I know I used to be the strength conditioning intern back in 14-15 season, and I met Hogan around October time, and then Marcus come in January. And interestingly, the summer before that, I think I came and did just some pre-season testing because there was a link with Mulge University, and I think Gareth Ainsworth had just come in, and there were a couple characters. Wouldn't necessarily say they were bad guys, but for where they were, they probably believed in the hype a little bit too much. I don't want to say any names because they were like nice guys to me, sort of thing. But you could just sort of tell it wasn't. I wouldn't say the gaffer was a hard ass or anything, but he was just sort of like, look, like the vibe I'm going for is togetherness. Like, everyone's gonna have an ego to a degree, but it's like as long as your ego is not detrimental to the system, then he's fine with it. Do you know what I'm saying? So I think when I come back, the following year to do the internship, those guys that I had that opinion of prior to, they weren't there anymore. You know what I'm saying? And you had the likes of, you had your Aaron Pierres and your Alfie Mawsons who were like, young, jovial guys, but they always knew when to put in work. Toby's telling me to name names. You want me to get in trouble, bro? Name names. But yeah, no, you could see you had the old heads like, the Paul Hayes, the Matt Bloomfields, like they'd been the same from last year, just nice guys, welcoming. Bloomfield knew that he spent half the time on the spin back trying to keep himself fit. But, he was still just a nice guy. And then, like I said, the younger guys are centre-backs. And then Fred Oyedinma, who's still there. It was a proper good culture to be a part of. And it gave me an insight. Because, everyone's got what they want to say about footballers. And, it doesn't shock me that, Marcus has said it's one of, if not the best dressing room he's been a part of. Because even me, that was just an intern, they'd invite me to like sit down and eat with them, and like I ate with the coaches and stuff, and it was a proper good vibe at Wycombe. And that's when they were that was the promotion playoff final year, I think. Yeah.
Nice. And who was it? It wasn't the same. Was it the same manager at the time? Gary Ainsworth. Gary Ainsworth.
Yeah, same manager.
I think he's been in a job one of the longest in England, isn't he? I think something like that.
9 years.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Wow. And what's it like? I guess training at Championship was Championship the highest level that you guys played at? So what's it like playing at Championship compared to other levels?
Go on, Hogan. Highest I done all 4 leagues. I done the Prem, Champ, League 1, League 2. Probably spent most of my career in the Champ with QPR because we got promoted. That was probably 2 years here and there. West Ham maybe 2 years in the Prem, but the level changes every league. It's the intensity of how you do things, the intensity of the running, the intensity of the passing, the intensity of the closing down. Everything's just a level up every time you step up, and you have to be ready to adapt to it because people might think it's a small difference between getting promoted and going to the higher league. The difference is major because you have players that can just crumble. They could be amazing in a promotion winning season. Next year, when the level goes up and the tempo is up 5%, it's a whole different ball game. So you've got to get used to it. For me, it was harder because I probably went down in the leagues instead of going up. So every time I went to a new club, it was kind of taking a step down in that intensity level. So that's hard to adjust to, and then you get frustrated. You start demanding more of others, and maybe sometimes that's right. Maybe sometimes it's not fair because other players haven't been at that level, and that's just what they expect. So it's hard to get used to in that respect. But also, it's the demands of your teammates. I think the higher the level you are, you get like when people tell me footballers don't care, it's nonsense. I've never seen anyone who cares as much as the best players I played with. All the ones that have had the best careers, the Teddy Sheranans, the Craig Bellamy's, players like that, these lot lose their mind over anything. It could be a keep ball session. Like they have to win it. They can't be on the losing team. So it's the demands that play a big role as well. So yeah, but you do see the difference in each league.
So what's it like, Hogan, when I guess like when those demands get crazy, like like a time like QPR when you had all of the financial issues and things like that? What's it like playing at a time like that?
I don't mind the demands. I think that you have, like, I always wanted a manager that I was fearful of. If it was a manager who I was cool with and I wasn't too worried about, then I wouldn't be playing my best football. I needed to be a little bit worried of you as a manager. So people like Paulo Sousa was my manager, and from early doors, I was a little bit fearful of him. So I knew I had to be on my game every day. If I've had a late night or whatnot, I knew that I had to show up to training the next day and be on job. So that was just obviously personal opinion and how I preferred it. And I also love demanded teammates. People talk a lot about the likes of Joey Barton or Craig Bellamy once again. Probably got this image that they're a bit of an arsehole, if we're being honest. But I love people demanding of me like that. And I believe those sort of players would raise my game about 5%. So personally, yeah, I haven't got a bad word to say about those sort of characters.
Nice. So I guess let's move on to the actual game. What do you think? What should we expect from the game, O'Hara?
As long as we don't get anything remotely similar to the 16-17 game, I'll be buzzing, because I remember watching it live and thinking, what is going on? Like we were 2-0 down in the blink of an, like, it was I'm not gonna lie, the first goal was an unreal finish. Like Hazy was gas. I've never even seen Hayes do that in training. He was just always holding the ball up and bouncing off people with the shoulders. Like the finish was too sweet. I expect us to play a much stronger team than we did that day. I think the only guys left in that team, I think Sissoko played right wing that day. Son played up front. Dyer might have played in midfield. But yeah, like there was, with all due respect to these guys, like, you know, there was the Cameron Carter-Vickers were there. Michel Vaughan was in goal. I think Nkudu or Inji or one of them started left wing. I think it was Nkudu, to be fair. So yeah, I just expect we probably won't play everyone who's like a normal first 11 player, but it will still be a strong team. Kane will play, Son will play. I wouldn't expect to see Alfie Devine on the bench this time around, even though that's my boy. But yeah, I think it'll be. That's the only time I've used. So for those wondering, Sai hates the term Spursy. He's had many an argument, many a monologue about it, but that would have been the one time you call us Spursy. It's got down that Son scored 2 goals. They were both definitely very lucky own goals, because neither of them were going in until a Wycombe player touched it. And then we scored it. One of them was like the 97th minute when there was only 6 minutes stoppage time. Like, that was shocking. So just anything not like that game, I will take, to be honest. But Wycombe are better now. Do you know what I'm saying? If they've got better players, slightly, you know, playing a higher standard, so you know they're gonna come out for it. You know, just off the back of that era, I know you're hosting, but I was just wondering, like, obviously Marcus, you were in the squad that day, so like, what was it like when, you know, Tottenham got drawn out the hat, and like what was training like, and then what was the like match day like and stuff like that?
No, I think obviously the boys were excited, but we had business to do in the league. I think at the time we were doing well in the league, but as soon as that final league game's out of the way, because at the end of the day, up until that point, you're playing for your position in the team for that Tottenham game, whichever way you look at it. So people focus on the league. As soon as that was out of the way, then it was like the excitement could build. And I just remember I was on the bench that day, so I don't think I came on, but I was just watching the game thinking, I can't believe what I'm seeing here. Like, on the day we went 2-0 up, as you said. It was early. Rattled Spurs at the time, and it took you bringing on the big guns. Obviously, Dele Alli, Dembele came on, and that's when I think the game changed and swung in your favour. And it was tough the last 20 or so minutes. But before then, I think we really struggled with the physicality of Bayo. I think that was Cameron Carter's last game for the club, I think, probably, because he got quite bullied that day. And it's not his fault, because Bayo can do that to anybody. But I'm expecting a similar sort of game plan from Wycombe when you go against them. It's going to be, can we get the ball into the front man? And can we just try and cause a problem for the defence?
Nice. Any sort of prediction for the score, Tops?
I think we'll probably look to rotate the squad. Obviously, we haven't had a game all through this week, and then we've also got a big game on Thursday, Liverpool at home. So I'll be interested to see how we probably rotate the squad. I've been looking at Wycombe's results, and they are bottom of the championship, but they actually haven't been playing too bad. I actually live in Wycombe, and last season I went to quite a lot of their games, so I like kind of understand the way that they've been playing. And I feel like this season, I've also been keeping an eye on them, and it has been difficult for them as well at points. And I think as well, this game is their first game in almost like 2 weeks, I think, as well. So it'll be interesting to see how they also sort of get themselves back into this game. But I mean, hopefully if we have a rotated squad with enough sort of quality, I think we should be able to just get ourselves over the line. But again, it's funny. I was watching the highlights of that FA Cup game. It just makes me miss having fans like in stadiums and like just the atmosphere and like, it's so difficult these days when you think about the way things have gone with this pandemic, that would have been a great day to be a Wycombe fan. To get those goals, to go up against Tottenham at White Hart Lane in a Premier League club. So it'll be interesting, and it's a bit disappointing that we can't get no fans as well. Similarly, to go at Adams Park for this game, but touch wood, we should have enough quality to get the win and start focusing on Thursday really against Liverpool. Yeah.
I'd like to see maybe Vinicius get a start. It would be good to see him. I think he looks dangerous. You get what I mean? Like when in all of his appearances, so it would definitely be good to see him get a start. I think we've lost Marcus for the time being. Oh, okay, there we go. Like clockwork. Good timing, Marcus, because we've actually got a question for you from the crowd from Tobes. So, what was it like working with Akinfenwa?
I actually known Bale for a number of years. I first met Bale when he was he came on trial at QPR when I was about 19 years ago. And then I played with him at Swansea, so I've known Bale for a long time. Bale's exactly what you see on social media is exactly how Bale is in real life. He's an infectious character. He's the life and soul of the club. He's a leader. The younger boys look up to him. He knows when to put an arm around the shoulder, but he also knows when everyone knows not to mess with Bale in it. So if you know what I mean. So he's got that bit of both, which is great. As a player, I'd say he's probably one of the most underrated players I've played with in the sense of technically he's very good. So he's got a very good touch. He used to be quick. Obviously, he's lost his pace now, but he's deceptively quick back in the day. He's lost his pace now. But in the air, it's almost impossible to defend against him. If the ball's right, he's gonna win the header. And it's not because he can jump off the floor great necessarily. It's because he's able to move you, manipulate you out of the way, and get his head on the ball. And I say manipulate. That's just strong arm you, basically. That's what I'm trying to say. So he's a great player, a great character to have in your team, and I can understand why the gaffer keeps. I can understand why the gaffer keeps giving him new contracts, because even if he's only come off the bench every now and then, he's still such a great character to have around the place.
And Spurs Unfiltered are asking, was Akinfenwa as physically huge 19 years ago as well? I think
physically huge. You know what? His body shape was maybe a little bit different, but he was still. I said his body shape was a little bit different, but he was still very strong. I think he kind of his size kind of changed. His physicality trying to change when I went to Swansea and he got an injury. And he was out for a while. And then he kind of changed physically. But yeah, he was still an animal at 19. Yeah.
No, when I joined secondary school, he was actually in year 11, the same school. And even then, he was a beast, man. He was a beast. But Beanie's right, technically very good. I've never played with him, but I'm just talking about back then. Physically, he was quick, he was strong, but he had nice feet as well, good touch. And people just look at him on appearance and just assume he's a big man who's just going to win flip on. But Beanie's right, he's got much more to his game than that.
You didn't play him in year 9 versus year 11 or nothing, no?
To be fair, I was year 7 and I was a small kid. We were playing.
Yeah, but I'm trying to imagine Akinfenwa in year 11. Yeah, like You know them ones where like the year 7 ball will go to the year 11s and the year 11 will just boot it into a next section of the playground and you have to go imagine him doing that.
Go and get that, man. Go and
The
get
craziest thing about Bayo is that he's got 2 brothers that are actually bigger than him. That's the crazy thing. Yeah, so that family,
wild.
man, you don't want to mess with that family
Absolutely
at school, man.
wild. Oh my god.
Getting his big brother. Yeah, that's crazy. That's crazy, man. Yeah, I guess. What did we have next? Let's move on to Liverpool. Should we do Liverpool preview?
Yeah, we can do Liverpool.
So what are we expecting from Anfield?
I think I would obviously the formation we had against Sheffield United worked very, very well, but at the same time it is Sheffield United. And I'm not currently watching. I haven't got Liverpool in the corner, so I don't know how they're getting on at home to Burnley.
It's 0-0. It's 0-0 still.
Okay.
Yeah,
and Salah's also on the bench, so we're going to be playing a slightly fresher Salah. I think what could potentially, if we do stick to the 3-4-3, which I think could potentially work, I think what's going to be really key is how the wide centre backs work in those half spaces. Whether if they position themselves properly, so they just don't get overran by the absolute monsters that are Salah and Mane. I think that's probably going to be the most key part of the game. Again, it's doing us and the rest of the league a favour that Liverpool have still yet to sign a centre back, whether it's going to be Upamecano, whether it's going to be any centre back that they're trying to get. To be honest, so I think it's if they can still play that Donny who was at Kidderminster last year, who was actually pretty decent against us, I'm not going to lie, but I'd rather play him than anyone else. I don't think Matip's going to be fit yet, and I quite rate Matip personally. And yeah, Matip's good, and I don't know if anyone else...
He's playing tonight.
Matip's playing tonight.
Wow, yeah, I thought he was.
yeah, and Salah's on as well. Salah, he came on as well. So,
well, there you go then. But yeah, it's just. I think I'm more confident this time around, not necessarily just because of the Sheffield United game. I think it was just we looked quite comfortable considering the changing system. And listen, it's always Tongi time, man. It's always Tongi time. When my man's on the pitch, anything can happen. You know what I'm saying? And I think Kane and Son are overdue. They're overdue a double act as well. I might put £5 on that again. Give me a couple bills. Yeah, man. I think we can get it done. We got some fixtures coming up where. You know, in the group chat and on Twitter, people are saying, I'll be trying to get 10, 12 points in the next 5 games. Like, you know, regardless of what the aspirations are, these are the kind of games we've got to try and win. Liverpool can't do the double on us.
Tops.
Yeah,
what
man.
do you think about the Spurs defense going into this game?
Oh, in terms of our fullbacks, I'm kind of happy with how they've been. I think Reguilon's a great signing for us. I feel like he's kind of settled in well, and he's starting to show us lots of the ability that we knew that he had. He's played very well in the last couple of games, and I feel that will be a very good game against Salah on that right wing for him. So I'm very happy with him. I feel like Aurier has been improved as well, largely improved. It's almost as if like the Doherty signing has kind of given him a kick up the backside and has forced him to kind of improve his performance largely this season, apart from that one mistake where he gave away a penalty. Now, I'd largely say he's been in the top 3 right backs in the league this season. The only thing that does worry me a little bit is our central defence. I feel like it's been a topic of conversation. While we do have a decent defensive record this season, I do feel like it's somewhere where we can be got at, and it's probably a reason why Jose hasn't played the same players in there all the time. I suppose the one mainstay has probably been Eric Dyer, but then there are some games where you look at him and you find yourself wanting him getting stuck on the balls, him not getting to the ball first. So then having to put in players like Sanchez, Rodon, and then for some reason as well, he seems to have come out of favour with Toby as well. I kind of feel like it'll be interesting to see who he picks against Liverpool. I do feel like this is kind of a good time for us to play Liverpool as well, because I feel like Liverpool, they're not really firing on all cylinders in terms of their attack. I feel like Trent isn't really as effective as he's been. I feel like Robertson has been effective, but Sadio Mane, Mo Salah, Firmino, they haven't really been at the races as much. And I feel like if there was a time for us to play them where I don't feel the attack, like even like tonight, 60, 65 minutes in against Burnley and it's still 0-0 at home. Last season, season before, you would have accepted them to be maybe winning that by 2 or 3, but they seem to have gone off the boil a little bit. So I feel like we can win the game if we can hold out our defence. I feel like the game we played at Anfield, I've said it before, I feel like we were very unlucky. We put a couple of those chances away. It's a different game. So I feel like the chances will be there for us again. Kane, Son, and Ndombele, Bergwijn. But I think where the game is probably decided is whether or not we can hold out against Liverpool. And we're home as well, so we have no reason to not go for it. We're at home. So,
Top, just going back to what you said about Aurier, right? Top 3 right backs in the league. Who else are you putting up there with him this season?
In my opinion, this season, I feel Reece James is up there. I feel like he had a sort of a funny season last season because he was coming into the team and he was in and out of the team. But I feel like when he has been playing, he's probably been the best fullback. And I think João Cancelo is absolutely world class. I think everything that he offers Man City is exactly what they want. He can play on the left, he can play on the right, he can play as a wing fullback. He's in my fantasy football every single week. I think he's absolutely top class. So I'll probably say João Cancelo, Reece James when he's been playing because he has had some time out of injury, and then Aurier as well this season as well. Yeah,
you're putting Aurier above Carl Walker-Peters and James Justin this season.
I knew that was coming.
You know what's funny? Like we obviously were very happy when we got Doherty in, and obviously Højbjerg has been a revelation for us. So for us to lose a long-term player who was academy player in Carl Walker-Peters, most of us were like happy days. We'll take Højbjerg, we'll send him away, and actually, it's looking kind of mad now because Doherty, in my opinion, he's been substandard, to be honest with you. Yeah. And Carl Walker-Peters has actually been very impressive at Southampton. He seems to have got his confidence back, and he seems to be being coached very well by a very good coach in Ralph Hüsenthal.
I had no issue when Spurs sold Carl Walker-Peters. I didn't think it was good enough for Spurs. When I saw him playing at Spurs, I just thought he's a level below what we've had in Carl Walker and Trippier and so on. But I've got to admit, he's gone to Southampton, and this season he's been unbelievable. And
is that not the power of coaching, though? Sorry, Hope. Sorry, is that not the power of coaching in the sense of you've got Hüsenthal there, who is obviously a renowned coach, taken young kids before when he was at Leipzig, Red Bull, sorry, and he's coached them. And I think in this country there is this kind of I don't know, that just want to buy the ready thing all the time. When if you put the effort in, I think there's a lot of those young boys that can make the step up. You know what I mean? And listen, I agree with you in the sense of I did not necessarily see that sort of level I've seen, but obviously Southampton have thought, we've got this manager here. He's good at improving young players. 50 million was a lot at the time. So they've seen something that we haven't. And I just think that, that's important to remember.
100%. But I was watching Carl Walker-Peters with Pochettino, who's an unbelievable coach. And I just couldn't see anything coming out from Carl Walker-Peters at Tottenham. I thought he looked too timid. He looked encouraging to play against as a wide man. On the ball, he was dithering around. Gone to Southampton, took his game to a whole nother level. After all my hands up, I didn't think it'd be good enough. Now I think he's on form, one of the best right backs in the Premier League. Every game I see him, he gets better. But I also think what you can't underestimate with a lot of these young players, they got the easiest time in their life right now with no fans in the stadium. That's it. Any of them young players. You go into a first game with no fans, it's basically a behind closed door game.
Yeah,
it's a dream come true, and I think that's why towards the end of last season, you saw people like whether it be Mason Greenwood, Pulisic, Bukayo Saka, they all just hit the ground running because this is like reserve football in their eyes. There's no added pressure.
Absolutely, I absolutely agree with both your points. I do think the power of coaching, as like we can say, even as Tottenham fans, if you have a manager who does focus on lots of different bits of your game to improve you as a player, it can definitely pay dividends. So even with players like James Justin at Leicester, I think Brendan Rodgers is a decent coach as well. And whilst he's come in and done quite a big job, considering Pereira's been out for so long, but he seems to be looking very comfortable in that right back position. So definitely support that feeling that coaching does make a massive difference to some of these young guys. And also to the point that, yeah, you are right about the lack of, I was just saying before, Marcus, when you were off, like, I feel like it makes such a difference having fans in stadiums at the moment, because obviously all these young players are playing like they will be playing back in the academies on under 23, under 18 games, and lots of different things that come into the whole match scenario. Even though you are on the pitch 11-11, but the atmosphere, the crowd moans, people shouting things at you, all these different things make a difference. And when you're a young player, it's so easy for these sort of things to probably affect you, as you guys probably would be able to know. But as you get older in the game, you maybe you block it out. It doesn't become it doesn't become that much of a thing. But I also kind of feel as well, like for the young players, you guys can probably attest to this as well. When you're a young player and you're trying to get into the first teams, you want to play football in front of fans. You want to play on the biggest stages. And it's probably quite underwhelming that they're finally getting to these points and they're playing at quite a high level, and actually they're not getting people watching them. They're not getting fans in the stadium to see them play. They're not getting the full experience,
Yeah. No, 100% agree.
Yeah.
So I guess my next question is kind of like on a scale from like Jose to Poch, like what kind of environment is the best for a young player sort of coming up? Like, do you think I'm just kind of thinking like where I guess would a young player like Kyle Walker-Peters have been best placed, even though I guess Mourinho sold him and that kind of tells a story in itself. But is Mourinho the kind of manager that a young player can come up from? I know you said you like managers that kind of want more from you as well.
I think at the time you'd rather be managed by Poch without question. But I think when you look back a few years later, you'd probably appreciate it from Mourinho. I think he's made some unbelievable young players go on and have fantastic careers as champions throughout their whole career. And then you look at people like Marcus Rashford, who recently turned around and says, I never realised how much Mourinho done for me until recently. I thought he was harsh on me, but it was the thing I needed most. So I think he's one of them ones that at the time and at the moment, you wouldn't appreciate how he comes across and his persona. Then when you get a little bit older, a little bit more experienced, I think you'll look back and know that it was for the best of you, and he was just trying to get that mentality into you.
For me, I can't really speak on the two of them because I don't really know what they're like, but I'm just thinking about me personally when I was a kid growing up, and what worked for me was I want a coach. So when I'm in a coach, I want someone that wants to be on the training ground a lot, wants to talk about detail, wants to watch video with me and go through games with me. So it's about time spent, And for me, the main thing is how much time does each manager dedicate to actually improving players? You know what I mean? And I don't know what Poch does. I don't know what Mourinho does, but that's what I appreciated as a player when I was young growing up. So I don't know. I can't tell you which one does more, but that's what I appreciated.
Sorry to butt in. Can I ask a question, to you both, Marcus and Hogan? So you speak about the details and how a coach gives you in terms of time spent. Did you find that you were, throughout your careers, you were best placed with managers who were giving you individual time, or did you find that you were best placed with environments where the coaches were giving you a lot more of their time?
I'll tell you this, 90% of managers that I played for had no interest in me improving me as a player. And when I say that, I mean, they looked at me as a cog in the machine. So looked at the machine first, and they didn't really look at the cogs. Do you know what I mean? If that makes sense. So
yeah.
only 10% of managers I had actually thought, okay, by improving Marcus, I'm going to improve the team. A lot of managers look at the team first, and they don't really go into the minute of each player and how can I make him 5% better, and then it's going to make the team better. So that's just my experience, and it took me probably. There's only a couple of coaches, and one was a German coach, Uwe Rossler, and his attention to detail is insane. Like, and I didn't appreciate it at the time because it was that intense. But he understood that if he by improving Marcus by 5 or 10%, you know, I can make the midfield 5 or 10% better. And it was just that mentality. But I don't think a lot of managers have that mentality. They're too focused on results. And yes, results matter, but process matters as well. And that's where I think that a lot of managers get mixed up and lost.
I think though, like you hit the nail on the head, and I think that's where the coaches have to take over, because the manager, especially if you're talking Championship, League One, League Two, there's games every 2 or 3 days, right? So people talk about coaching, you don't really get on the training pitch that much. It's all recovering. So the manager's got 25 players to deal with. He's got results to deal with, this, that, the other. That's where you need your coaches to come in and step up. I always found myself when I was playing, especially it was top quality players I'd learn from more than any coach or any manager. So on the training pitch, that's where I'd learn my most stuff, just from watching other players. I'd watch players like Bobby Zamora and players like that, and just learning all the time. I remember Sheringham, I was young, 16, 17, we're doing a finishing drill, and he dinks the goalkeeper, he dinks Jimmy Walker from about just outside the penalty box to the right-hand side. And I said, that didn't even look on. He said, I don't look where the goalkeeper is, I just judge off angles. Every angle tells me where to shoot from. And then that was mind-blowing forward to me. And you got to think, I grew up a Man United fan, right? So he's a hero to me. So when he's telling me this at 16, 17, he's saying because the goalkeeper has to cut off his near post at this angle, you don't even look. I know that he's not 6'7". The think's on if I get it right. He's playing football like science. So that just opened my eyes differently. No manager or coach could ever instill that to me, because they're not capable of showing me like he just did.
Yeah. That was mad. Like, even though that was just one little like bit of advice, I'm like, imagine it happen, that's flipping wavy. But yeah, just the whole Jose and Poch development thing, like, not to put Poch down in any way, shape, or form, because obviously the man, you know, we went through a crazy positive transition period under him, but I've always kind of felt the youngster development thing under Poch was a little bit of a myth, because he used to get this praise for like bringing youngsters into the first team, and I was like, okay, you brought through Winks to a degree, but like Kane was there, Bentaleb was there, Mason was kind of there already, Ryan Mason, and yeah, it's just he had this thing where he said he wanted to keep the better young players in and around the first team, which, you know, he's probably alluding to some of the stuff you said, Hogan, about, you know, learning off some of the first team players. But, you know, Tobes has just said in the chat, I've always thought, you know, the Kyle Walker-Peters thing, he made a mistake not loaning out certain players. And, you know, so yeah, like with KWP, Hassan Hoot was obviously seen something when he's taken on loan and thought, no, I can make something work here. Do you know what I'm saying? We might not have had to have held on to Trippier for a little bit longer if KWP had got that extra loan. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, there's only so much you're going to learn as the third string right back. And, you know, I've always kind of felt, maybe just from playing excessive levels of Football Manager, but I even take it quite personally. If I'm loaning out someone to a club, I'll be like, all right, what's your training facilities saying? What's your youth coaching saying? You know what I'm saying? Like, I know it's all AI in that, but it's little. I'm not going to send the youth man somewhere where he's not going to play, and the facilities are dead, and the coaching is dead, and you're 23rd in League Two. Like,
you're a real Football Manager player, I can tell.
Trust me, Hogan, he is. Trust me.
Yeah, it's just, it's like, you know, I've always kind of thought, I've not really thought Jose was about it with the youth thing. Obviously, he brought through Davide Santon time ago with Inter, but at the same time, they had no left backs. When he brought through McTominay, there's the kind of low-key agenda that he brought through McTominay despite Pogba, but McTominay does do some nice stuff. Let me not even lie. I don't like when they call him McSauce, but he does a couple of nice things here and there. But, you know, recently, you know, I remember there was one interview he did maybe the week before Spurs hired him, and he said, look, I am going to have to do some stuff differently. And I was like, is he going to bring for our youth? I don't know. But, you know, Alfie Devine getting minutes against Marine is important. Dane Scarlett being in Europa League squad is important. And, you know, under 23 captain Jabril Okadina, he's gone to Cambridge now, halfway through the season, which I think he's just got to play grown man football. If you're a young centre back, you've got to play grown man ball. Do you know what I mean? Harvey White just went to Portsmouth, and we loaned out somebody else. I think I can't remember who it was.
Skip and Troy Parrott.
Yes, Skip and Troy Parrott, and Parrott. It's not going fantastically at Millwall because he's been injured a little bit, but that's the kind of stuff you got to learn. And Skip's flipping killing it. Skip's probably going to get Player of the Season for Norwich, but I think Jose is being a bit more obviously positive with his youngsters bringing through. Do you know what I mean? Because Hogan, you alluded to the Rashford thing. I saw when Rashford came out the other day and said some of the stuff Jose had told him, and maybe he was too young at the time to appreciate it. But we all kind of know Rashford's form did dip a little bit under Jose. But it's like, do you take the L here to take the W over there? Do you know what I mean? So maybe that's what it is with Jose. But yeah, it's just interesting comparing the development styles of the two, especially current Jose.
Well said. Very well said, man. I think to a certain extent as well, I guess it would be interesting, Hogan and Marcus, to get your point of view on what it's like to actually go on loan. Like, is that process how, I guess from the inside, is it how we see it as, like, I guess football manager players or fans of football, in that you see as it's going to improve you, or you have a future when you in the team when you get sent on loan? Is that how you see it?
My first one when I was about 17 from West Ham to Colchester, that was obviously for development, to improve me and just to play games. And then the loans I had after that, the Leeds was just to get fitness after an ankle injury. The rest of the loans as well, just been bombed off. So it was just go and get some games because you ain't going to play here. And then we'll just see what happens at the end of it, sort of thing. But yeah, it could definitely help you as a learning experience. It teaches you about winning, getting into a men's changing room, wanting to win every week, especially when you drop down the leagues and people want their win bonuses. This is their mortgage on the line. Do you know what I mean? So you got to get a whole new mentality for that. But then there are some players that are at such a level, I don't believe they should go on loan. So when people were saying Phil Foden should go on loan, I've never understood that at all. People were saying Rashford a couple of years ago when Mourinho was manager should go on loan. He played the most matches under Mourinho. I've never understood that one at all. So it's he loaned me out of football man, yeah. Yeah, so there's some people at these top clubs where when your talent's that insane, you look at Mason Greenwood at the moment, for example, unbelievable talent, having a bad time of things at the moment, not in good form. The easy thing for people to say would be to go on loan. Is that a penalty for Burnley?
Is it actually? Is that actually?
Yeah.
Oh,
don't say that. Don't say that.
Right, it is, Oh my goodness me. 9 minutes left, man. Jesus.
You're killing me right now.
Oh, mate. Them man are going to come with everything they've got on Thursday, man. Allow it, man. Oh, allow it.
Yeah, so people like that, Mason Greenwood, I don't think he should be going on loan. Talent's there. You're going to have a career at Man United. There's no reason for you to go on loan to, I don't know, Southampton, for example. You're going to get nothing from it. Just be there day in, day out. You've got one of the best strikers of our generation at the club. Learn off him every day. Learn off the manager who played your position and just ride it out. So for the special cases, I say stay at the club. For everyone else, go out and get some games.
Yeah. Marcus, would you say your experience was the same?
Yeah, I think the key, especially for these young boys, is when you go out on loan, have the right attitude, because you're leaving, your club, which is normally a bigger club, and you're going down to different clubs with different, as Hogan says, people have got different, mortgages to pay and different aspirations. So you need to go in with the right mindset and the right frame of mind. And I have seen players come from bigger clubs, come down to, for example, League One or Championship, and they've come with a wrong attitude, thinking, the big time attitude, I shouldn't be here, I'm better than everybody else. And invariably, those are the ones that fail. So the most important thing is to have the right attitude when you go out on loan. And if you have that, then I think loans are extremely beneficial and generally better than playing 23s football, in my opinion.
Beanie's correct in what he says there as well about the right attitude. That there were some loans that I had in my time, and subconsciously in the back of my mind, I'm thinking, I'm only going to be here 2 months and I'm going back. Do you know what I mean? So even though I wouldn't show that attitude around, it was just in my head. Even from the minute I was going down there to sign the contract, I'm thinking, all right, it's just 2 months and I'm going to be back. You shouldn't look at it like that. Every single time you play, because I do player recruiting now for an OYS agency. So I'll tell the young players it's the same. Every time you go on the football pitch, it's a shop window. Every single manager you play against. I know now it's a bit different time, so there's not a load of scouts at the games and whatnot. Opposition manager, he sees you as a shop window every single game. So there were times where my mentality weren't right on certain loans, and that's something that I'll run into young people to make sure that they have their mindset right.
Yeah, Hogan was spot on with that as well, because I do a bit of scouting as well for Brentford, and I'll put a player in, and if he's had 2 or 3 bad loan spells, he might be a good player, but people look at your history and they say, well, he hasn't done it there, and they question you. So it's important, man. That it's so important that every game you play, you got to play it like it's your last, because there are people watching, whether or not there's people in the stadium or not. There's videos, and that's what we're watching at the moment. Everyone's watching Y Scout, Instat, and it's so important that you're consistent, even on a loan spell.
Yeah, a little bit random, but I was watching the Sun documentary. I can't remember the name of it at the moment. Just before this, yeah, sensational. And there's a part sort of like where they're talking about Son's journey sort of to becoming the player that he is today. And you guys sort of have been highlighting mentality of players when they go on loan. And I think if you watch this documentary, like, it is an amazing example of player mentality. I'd even go as far as to say Son's dad is like an example of a footballer mentality. Like, and I think you need to have that kind of mentality to even get anywhere close to the kind of thing that Son is doing. If you get what I mean.
Where did you watch that?
Amazon Prime.
Amazon Prime.
I think it came out today.
Yeah, it's called Sensational. Yeah,
I have to watch that.
Amazing, man. His dad he's one of my heroes. Project Mbappe is coming, but Project Son,
Yeah.
Son as well.
Project Sun.
So that is nuts. I don't want to spoil it in it, but like the best, because with the documentary itself, like there's parts of it where it's just like, you know, just Son like having like conversations with like certain people, certain famous people, certain like old school ballers. But I genuinely think the best part is whenever his dad's in it, because you can he describes all the methods. Like his son's brother is there, like the Son Academy, and everyone that's there, they're all like, oh, like, you know, this is so weird being around you. And Son's like, hey, listen, like I'm just like you lot, innit? What my brother's doing to you lot, this is just what my dad used to do. Do you know what I'm saying? Like,
I have to watch this. Yeah,
it's some of the stuff that Son's, like, put it this way, yeah. Son's dad used to make drills with no cones, but you would know exactly what you're supposed to do. And saying one drill, yeah, brother, I'm just gonna say it. He was just, they said like, he used to have these like dribbling drills, yeah. So Son wasn't allowed to shoot until he was like, I don't know, like maybe 12, 13 something, because he didn't want to like exacerbate the ligaments in his knee or something from shooting. I was like, okay, so it was repetition drills for like 4 to 8 hours a day, yeah. And then he said there was one dribbling drill he used to do, it was the figure 8 thing. And then his dad was like, I had no cones, so I just used my shoes. And I'm thinking, he bought like a bag of shoes and put them around, yeah. Do you know what Donny did? He will stand in the snow and like do a circle and then another circle, and then do a double circle next to it, and that's your figure 8 in the ground, and you will just dribble and dribble and dribble. And I was like, this guy is crazy, but he has worked.
Oh, man, that's brilliant. I need to watch that.
He was even talking about like a part where his son was playing for the international side, I think, and he had a bit of a bad performance, and he was just like, you know what? I'm not going back to Korea unless you come and train with me. As he said to Son, it's not about what you're doing at Spurs or what you're doing with Korea. He said, I'm going back home if you come and train with me. He said for the whole summer, 3 times a day, Son had to train. And then when they came back, they didn't even recognize him. Like, that's what the guy is militant, man. Like, check it out. In fact, I think, is there anything else we've left off today? I think we've touched everything.
Just score prediction for Anfield, not Anfield, Liverpool, really. That's it.
Liverpool, I think we've got a high scoring game on our hands. I'm going to go for more than 4 goals, but I don't know who's going to win, though.
More than 4?
More than 4.
Okay. Mm-hmm. I think if we play 3-4-3, I think we can. I think we'll do them 2-1 if we play 3-4-3.
I think at home buoyed off how we've played last week, and hopefully we rest most of our first teamers on Monday. I'm going 2-1 at home. 2-1 at home to Spurs. Yeah.
I think last time I said more than 4 goals, we did United like 6.
What about Spurs fans? What do you think of our chances?
Boy, this looks like it's going to be 5 games in a row now that they haven't scored.
Yeah, I know, man.
I'm gonna go for a 0-0.
Yeah, okay.
I think Mourinho will sit back like he did against City, like he did against Liverpool away, and I think it could just be a stalemate. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to be high scoring because obviously Liverpool ain't scoring. So I'm a Liverpool fan, by the way, guys. So yeah,
it makes sense. Liverpool, man.
Yeah,
they just need to stop the rot, bro. That's what they need to do.
Listen,
stop the rot, man.
Exactly. This is a score. Just it's a monkey on our back at the moment. I think 1-0 Liverpool.
All right, we'll see.
Yeah.
Let's see.
Interestingly, we actually haven't beaten them the last 6 times we played them. 5 losses in the league. And the Champions League. That's 6, man.
Chill.
So we need to stop the rot. We need to stop the rot.
Yeah. Okay.
All right, guys, it's been a great show. I don't know, guys, you want to say your socials? Where can people follow you if they want to keep up with?
Yeah, I'm on Twitter. The name's at the bottom at Hogan Ephraim. So yeah, I'm on there all the time.
Yeah, and I'm on Twitter as well. Marcus Bean.
There you go.
Yeah.
And yeah, you can catch us Spurs _ Touchline on Twitter as well. So all right, guys, until next episode, take care.
Thanks, gents.
Thanks,
Thank you.